Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be giving you a rundown and talking about and giving you a bit of a Kickstarter preview to this new game, Rogue Angels. The subtitle is Legacy of the Burning Suns. I'm going to be putting up tons of pictures on the screen of the various stuff from this game as we're talking about it. We were sent a Kickstarter preview version, so this is very early prototype version, you know, with dice with stickers on them for the special sides and you know, cardboard little cardstock pieces and such, and a lot of it you can tell is very prototype. This is not what the final version is going to look like. For instance, do you have some of your cards over here from your character? A lot of my cards have the very prototype artwork. Some of yours actually had what looked like possibly final artwork, which looked much cooler. Just so you can see what we're talking about, the difference. But yeah, there's still a little ways to go. But the main mechanics of the game are basically done. And we want to give a big thank you, by the way, to Sun Tzu Games and Emil Larson for sending us this copy to check out and play and film some content with. So thank you guys very much. Before we get too into the story, I do want to say we've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, great hub for all things Board Game Captain. And Lynn and I have started doing some semi-regular blog posts there. There's also a link to my Teespring store. You can get yourself some cool Board Game Captain merch, t-shirts, mugs, etc. And there's a link to my Patreon, where if you're in a position to and would like to, you can support the channel. So, how would you define... what kind of game is Rogue Angels? What do you think primarily?
It's cooperative.
It's definitely cooperative. I would say
I would almost call it like mission-based cooperative.
Yeah,
and it's like problem solving, and like sometimes you punch the problem, and sometimes you outsmart the problem.
Yes, so it feels very much to me like it's a combination of a lot of adventure and storytelling style games. There's storytelling elements. There's definitely interludes where they give you more bits of information, especially when they're telling you what you got to do in a mission. Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, the game actually plays kind of like an RPG light, or like what they used to refer to as a dungeon crawler board game. Mm-hmm. Except it not quite, because there's usually more to it in this, because they'll have interesting things about hacking computers and getting doors open, and the system they have for that is really cool. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, it feels like, I would say, a storytelling / adventure game plus. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, I don't remember the name of it, that it was that adventure game though, where we had to go up the elevator and like infiltrate the... that was one of the adventure game series from Thames and Cosmos. It was like Monochrome Inc. Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of that.
Okay, so total adventure style, puzzle solving, fighting. So to set up this game, what you got to do is you got to figure out what adventure you're playing, and this is going to have a whole big campaign. We've played through the first couple adventures which they sent us. Really cool. Spoiler alert. We are liking it. But you set up for that adventure. You get the right board out. Apparently in the final version, and the components they're listing for the final version are, you know, really incredible. So there are going to be 70 different...
This is minimum.
So stretch goals.
Yeah.
Could be even more with stretch goals. Mm-hmm. At least 70 maps in a large double-sided A3 spiral folder. So these are going to be a book of maps. Mm-hmm. There's going to be, now for characters, they sent us 3 characters to check out. We tried 2 of them. I was Korox the Guardian, who was kind of like a melee and tank kind of character.
And I was Sijin, and she's like an assassin type person.
With a little bit of hacking too, though.
Yeah,
she was good at hacking.
I was okay at hacking. Good at sneaking up on people and stabbing them.
Right, so I was taking the hits and you were giving the hits, was kind of how it went when we were playing. But you were also doing... I can do a teeny bit of hacking. Everybody can do a teeny bit, but you could do a lot better than me. Mm-hmm. You had that one card for your abilities. So you set up the correct board. You always have to have your ship out because your ship is probably going to be the point where you're going to end the mission by getting back onto your ship. You set out the card decks. There's card decks for wounds, and there's also like you get your own cards for your actions. There's also like AI cards for the bad guys, which are really cool. We'll talk about how this all works in a minute. You set up, the bad guy pieces, the dice, the general components. You put them out on the table. Again, you set up the board that is needed for the current mission along with the particular things that are needed on the current board, like doors or blocked passageways or bad guys or computer terminals, etc. And then you're ready to play. Each mission tells you exactly what you need to set up, and it's going to show you. They were pretty easy to do. I didn't have any problem with it. And this is a game that I really felt like one person needs to learn how to play, and that was me. And then it's actually quite easy to teach. Like, I told you, I was like, we can just start playing, and when something comes up, I'll explain to you how to do it. And it worked that way, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like, how long do you think into the game were you like, okay, I get this?
I don't know, a couple minutes.
Like, it didn't take long, right?
And well, there's these little sheets that
the cheat sheets,
show
yes.
you the symbols and what they mean. So even though I didn't know, you gave me my character thing, and there's all these symbols on it, but I also had this, so I could just be like, oh, that's focus, that's a shield,
So, again, we got sent 3 characters to check out, but in the final, they're planning on 20 different character dossiers. 20. That's a lot of characters to choose from. So this isn't a sci-fi kind of universe, and you're playing mercenaries / maybe doing a little, who knows, maybe some bounty hunting, maybe some criminal activity kind of things, going on missions, doing all sorts of, dirty deeds done dirt cheap. And you get your missions and you go out and do them. But as you go, you're gonna level up like a role-playing game. You're gonna get new abilities. It is gonna be a legacy type system. They say there's gonna be stickers in the final version to give yourself new abilities and such. There's gonna be a sticker sheet. So I think a lot of this is gonna be like a one use. You're gonna get a group together and you're gonna play through the whole campaign, which if 70 maps is anything to go by, the campaign's going to have to be enormous. Because even if you only use each of those maps once, that's 70 maps. That's huge. Yeah, wow. So it says
well, there might be side quests instead of everything being.
Well, there are going to be. Yeah. One of the things I was looking at in here is they were saying that there's going to be side quests based on what characters you choose. There's going to be stuff that pops up that'll be in your dossier where you'll get an opportunity to fulfill your own storyline, which is so cool because you're going to be like, you get to present it to the group, hey, can we do this? I would like to fulfill my storyline. And then you can go on those side quests. But if you really don't want to, you can all decide not to. And it'll be optional. So if you're playing with 3 people, that's 3 sets of side quests that could possibly come up and you could possibly do. So there's going to be a ton of content. Main storyline, campaigns, side quests, personal quests from the characters. Just judging by the amount of content they're saying here that there's going to be in the game is pretty freaking cool. All right, so enough about just the volume. Let's not talk about the quantity anymore. Let's talk about the quality. So I want to talk about some of the game systems in this game. Let's talk about how this all works. So, you get your character in front of you and you get your cards, and your cards are your actions. And every time you get a turn during a mission, you can take 2 actions, right? Mm-hmm. And your actions are your cards. And your cards will have a cooldown number that tell you where they go on your cooldown track, and it takes that long to get them back. Everybody has a couple of basic actions that have a cooldown of 0, which are basic interact and basic move. Basic interact can allow you to try to start hacking a door or a computer, or it could also allow you to do a basic attack on somebody. And basic move just lets you run, essentially. But these, you can do multiple times. You get 2 actions. You can do the same one twice. You can do basic move, I get it back. Basic move, I get it back. Because they're 0. Because they're 0. They have no cooldown. Now, all of them tell you what they do. You usually get to roll a die with it. And the die can do things like, in addition to giving you bonuses to what you're doing. So if it's a move, bonus spaces. If it's an attack, bonus damage. If it's hacking, bonus ability to possibly hack the computer. But then in addition, they have things where they have just move no matter what you're doing. So you could be hacking and then get free move. You hack the door and you get to free move through it. There's also things that let you regenerate your shields, which give you extra defense on here. There's a lot of cool stuff on here. And there's also even, there's one that lets you get a +2, which is this is like an ace. This is your roll of 6. and that's kind of the basics on how they function. There's also, after you get past the introductory mission, all of your action cards have cool abilities that you can trigger with these, and this is part of the going up levels. You get tokens for different personality types. Depending on what choices you make during the game, you'll get to increase certain personality types, and then you'll get tokens at the beginning of every game for your personality type, because you're aggressive or you're defensive or you're talkative or whatever it is. And then if you spend those tokens, you get extra bonuses with the cards.
Oh, it says on here it's dominating, cautious, inspiring, and supportive.
Right. So you would be dominating.
Wow, rude.
But no, yeah, so that's kind of how that works, and it's just really cool, really fun. And then, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's going to trigger into future games with, adding stickers on, because like we had where we made enemies with someone at the end of our game, one of our games, and because they were now our enemy, I'm sure that would trigger into a future game where it's like, if you're their enemy, something different would happen.
That might make a side quest happen. Maybe.
Or they might attack you versus being able to talk your way out of a situation with them. Yeah. So okay, and then let's see what other things. Let's talk about the hacking. You did a lot of hacking. Why don't you go ahead and talk about the hacking system?
Well, you can either use your basic interact can let you hack, but I also have the Oculus hacker goggles. And I also have my jamming rifle too, would let me hack long distance.
And now, how did the system though, with the press your luck mechanic though, with the drawing from the bag, because there's gonna be a cloth bag in the game with a bunch of tokens you put in the bag.
So you use whatever card you're gonna use to hack, and then you draw tokens from the bag.
Usually you roll a die, and you could possibly get extra token draws too.
So like, if you got like 3 draws, you would draw 3
tokens. Ooh, that's a good draw. You got 2 blues.
And you need 3 of the same color to succeed.
But whites are wild.
Yeah.
So in this case, Lynn drew 2 blues. Let me show this to the camera here. Lynn drew 2 blues and a purple. So she doesn't have 3 of one color, and she doesn't have 2 and a white. But what it is once you've done that, you can stop in the middle of hacking it. You pick the color to keep, so you take the blues, obviously, and you put the purple back in the bag. And then I could come up and help, and I could be like, okay, well, my hacking's not as good. I just have basic hacking, which is a 1 draw plus a die roll. So I could roll the die. Ooh, I got a +2. So I get 3 draws. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to see if I can get it. I do 1 at a time. I can stop anytime I want. So the first one's red. It's not going to help us. Second one is purple. Still not going to help us. Oh, we're not getting through this door. White. Boom. So there we go. Now the white is wild, so I can use it with the 2 blues and the white. Now what happens is the red and the purple that don't get used get back in the bag, right? And the 2 blues and the white stay out of the bag now. So they're no longer in the bag, so we know there's less blues than normal. So if you were to get like 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 red, you would know to go with the red because there's more reds to possibly draw for future draws. The whites, though, even though they're wilds, you also there's 4 white tokens in the bag and 8 of the others. You don't want to get 2 whites, because if you get 2 whites, it's like pushing your luck and busting. What happens is it's a failure, and you have to put all the tokens back in the bag. This is a really fun and cool way to do it. What were your thoughts on this?
I liked it. It reminded me of pulling the damage in Sales of Glory. For whatever reason, I don't know why.
It's because it's a random pull.
Yeah.
It's a random pull, and then similar though, also similar to like Sails of Glory and Wings of Glory and Battlestar Galactica Starship Battles, all of those. The damage pulls in this are from cards, which in all those it's either cards or chits. You pull a random card, and it tells you what your damage is, and it's this is really cool. So when a bad guy hits you, first they're going to be removing shields. Once the shields are gone, every point of damage they do to you is going to make you draw cards. So having your shields up is important. You do want to try to regenerate your shields. Well, the cards have a few stats. So the first thing they have is they have a cooldown time, and they're going to go on your cooldown track like your normal stuff does. But they're filling it up with bad things, with wounds. And then they have a effect that happens when they're drawn. So in this case, this is a concussion. Concussion says, when drawn, place this card on the 1. That's all. So that it doesn't have any real extra effect on the 1 on your cooldown track. That's it. It doesn't have a real extra effect from being drawn. But then it has an ongoing effect while it stays in there. Some of your abilities have ongoing positive effects. These are going to have ongoing negative effects. So this one says all actions are at -1 die roll, minimum of 0. So this, while you have the concussion in your cooldown track, that's rough. And then the when it's discarded, you have to move another wound card 1 space up the cooldown track. So you collect these wounds here, and just like your normal action cards, they're taking up the spaces on your cooldown track and slowly going down, because at the end of every turn, you get to move everything down towards the one. If anything goes off, it's gone. It gets discarded.
Well, not if it's your cards, though.
If it's your card, it goes back to your hand. Yeah. Yes, correct. And also, though, you get 2 actions every turn, and while some of them could be to play cards, you also have the ability to focus, to try to increase and get one of your to get a focus, because focus is good. You can spend focus to do re-rolls on the dice, which is really useful. Or you could do a rest action to just make everything go down your track. So you get a free rest at the end of every turn, but you could take one of your actions to do a rest also, and further try to get get rid of these, or also get back your other cards. So that is an option. If you fill up all the spaces on your track, and you if you've got a space full and you go to take another wound, if you got a space full with the wound, and it goes to the same space it was on, it's going to go to the next space. But if you have a situation, let me get a correct card here. So if you've got a situation like this, where I've got my second space, my third space, and my fourth space all full, and I draw 2, there's no space for it to go to, then I wind up unconscious, and I have to wait for one of the other characters to heal me, which actually happened. You had to heal me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so bad, because the turns go really quick in this. You healed me like 3 minutes after I got knocked out. I wasn't like out of the game for very long. And you came in and were able to take 2 of my cards off me, so I got back up and was functional, which was good. And that's kind of the gist of how that goes. And then, so anything else we should talk about with the game system? Maybe combat a little bit?
Yeah.
So combat is similar. You play a card, and you roll a die. And the card says, like, does 1 damage plus the die roll, or whatever it is. And then sometimes if your enemies have shields, they'll reduce your damage by the number of dice, and you have to just get rid of all their wounds. We were playing with some low-level bad guys that had 3 and 4 wounds, respectively. The 3 wound guys, we found ourselves being able to knock out in 1 to 2 hits. Usually 2 or more hits for the 4 wound guys. They were kind of tough. They also had a shield. But yeah, that's basically it for combat. It's pretty basic. And they hit you the same way, but you have shields that you remove the tokens of, and then if they get through, they give you wound cards. And it's kind of in a weird, it's a weird but really cool system. I like the wound cards. I like the cooldown track. There's a lot of stuff in here that definitely lets you know that they're taking a lot of inspiration from video games, for sure. Like, I mean, even the term cooldown track, obviously.
Yeah.
Is obviously a video game reference, which is really cool. Anything else you think we should talk about rules-wise?
Did you talk about how you can use focus to reroll?
I mentioned it briefly,
okay,
but maybe we should go a little more into that. So the dice have a lot of different sides. They have one side that has a regain a shield. They have one side that whatever you're doing, you also get to move 2 spaces. They have one side that says you get a +1 and can move 1 extra space. They have one side that's just a +1. They have one side that's regain a shield and a +1, and they have one side that's a +2. So depending on what you need, you might want to get specific things. You can spend multiple focus if you want to do multiple rerolls. And some cards can even let you roll multiple dice, and then, maybe you want to reroll one but keep the other, or whatever it might be. But yeah, so focus is very important for that. You and I both had 3 focus. I had higher shields than you. But it all balances out with the different abilities. You had more amazing offensive abilities and hacking abilities. I had abilities that my guy was like a tank in an ability where he taunted everyone into attacking him, but then every turn gained back shields while that ability was in his cooldown track, which was really cool. So, anything else that we missed talking about in regard to how to play this game or about this game?
No, I don't think so.
In the final production game, there's going to be over 100 bad guy tokens. There's going to be tons more counters. This is going to be a cloth bag. We just have some color plastic counters, but there's going to be some proper cardboard punch-out symbols.
They're gonna have a permanent marker for the legacy elements.
Yeah, so this is a single playthrough. It is going to be a legacy game. But this is really cool, and it sounds like there's going to be a ludicrous amount of content here. And don't have any glaring negatives from what I'm looking at. Granted, I'm not looking at the whole game.
Yeah.
Probably the only negative I can think of at the moment is that since it's a legacy game, you're probably going to only be able to play it once. But they have been, some of the newer legacy games have been selling like a little expansion pack that you can use to for like $20 to reset it to play it again. So that, who knows, maybe they'll do that. Can you think of any negatives off of what we've looked at so far?
No.
So positives though. Let's do some positives. What do you? Because we were having a lot of fun with this. What do you think? What's your first positive?
Well, at least with the one game we played, I liked that it didn't take too long to do the objectives. We did like 3 or 4 objectives.
There's like 4 mini missions in a chain of missions.
It was never like more than 2 turns to get to the thing that you're supposed to get to.
It plays very quickly.
And that's like, I don't really like games that are dungeon crawlers, and my main complaint with them is that it takes forever just to get to the place that you're supposed to get to, and then it takes like multiple turns to try and do what you're supposed to do at that place. And this one, it was like 2 turns, you were there.
Very
fast. You could hack the computer.
Yeah, it's very quick. Like there was no part where we were playing and I felt like the game was dragging at all. Mm-hmm. It was very quick. It went at like a nice clipped pace. It just kept like it was smooth. It just went, and like we read the next section and then we just jumped into the next part of the scenario. Mm-hmm. And we read and then we finished that and we read the next section. We jumped to the next part of the scenario. It was like 4 mini scenarios all linked together. Is kind of what we played out, mm-hmm. And it was really cool. I liked it a lot. There was in between each of those 4 sections. I guess that was all one big scenario, but it felt like 4 mini games. Mm-hmm. In between each one, there was a big storyline piece, and I liked the storyline stuff. And the storyline stuff, I did think the storyline stuff was pretty good. What did you think about the storyline stuff?
I liked it. And it also, I felt that it wasn't too long or too short. Sometimes with games that have where you have to read something to give you information, it's either like too little information and you're confused and you're not sure what to do, or it's like just like too long and you're like, okay, can we play the game? Like, why are you still talking?
It was like the perfect amount then.
Yeah.
Sweet spot. So, and I, just a little more on the system, only because I want to draw attention to it. I think the systems in this are great. Like, the word that comes to mind is brilliant. The hacking system with the push your luck draws, and the fact that you're supposed to, as you understand how the systems in the particular structure you're in work, you get better at it. The fact that you remove some of the stuff in the bag and it stays out of the bag, and now you're like, oh, next time I'm pulling stuff, if I pull a purple or a red because I have 3 reds out, I know not to take the red. That's awesome. I love those little bits in there in regard to that system. And also the combat was very easy to use and very fun. Mm-hmm. I like the damage cards. It made the combat feel more real because it wasn't just, oh, I lost another hit point. It was, I have a concussion, mm-hmm. and this gives me a disability. Mm-hmm. And that was like, there was a point where I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. I need your help over here. Because I had like a bunch of wounds and I was surrounded by bad guys. And you were trying to run off and do the objective, but you had to double back because I was getting ganged up.
You were like, "I'll take these guys out. You run ahead," and I was like, "Okay." Yeah,
it didn't work out. But it did work out in the end. We did win the game.
Well, yeah, I had to come back and save you.
Yeah, just come rescue me. Yes. But it was really fun. It was really cool. And then you came back and you like cut someone's head off with a katana, and then you like leapt across the room and smashed someone in the face with that giant leap card.
It wasn't oh yeah, katana slashers. It's like,
yeah, that thing was brutal. And then but you did like this combination of 2 cards. We should talk about that combo because it was so cool.
It was this one and the disruption suit.
Right. So you have the disruption suit, which is an ability that it doesn't do something immediately, but it just says while it's on your cooldown track, you get +2 movement to all of your movement actions. And all adjacent enemies get -2 armor, which is also really cool. So then what happened was, Lynn went and did this movement ability she had, which is enhanced mech legs, which allows you to jump over an enemy space for 2 movement and then deal 3 damage to an adjacent enemy. So you put the first one on your cooldown track, mm-hmm. then you played this, which let you jump 4 spaces, mm-hmm. and you dropped in, and because you had this, the bad guy had no armor, and you did a 3 damage to him with no armor. And he was an armored bad guy, mm-hmm. so he lost his armor and got slammed for 3 damage. This was so freaking cool. Getting to do combos like that is very rewarding. Very rewarding.
And you missed it all because you were unconscious.
But then you revived me, and I was like, "What happened?" I really like this game. I don't know if you can tell, but I was really enjoying what we played of this, and I was getting a big kick out of it. Okay, who can we recommend back this Kickstarter? That's the bottom line. Lynn, why don't you go first? Who's a group of people you would recommend to back the Kickstarter for Rogue Angels Legacy of the Burning Suns?
People who enjoy playing Mass Effect.
So, yeah, this definitely has the feel of Mass Effect to it. If you're a fan of the Mass Effect games, especially the first couple, the best ones, yeah, totally.
Okay.
Which is your favorite?
3.
All right, fine. I think 1 is the best, personally.
I know, because it was the most...
It was the most RPG-ish.
Yeah.
I liked 1 the best. But definitely, if you're into games like Mass Effect or other games like Mass Effect, this would definitely be right up your alley. Also, I'm going to throw out there, just in general, people who like playing role-playing games but don't want to have to be the game master, especially people who are always the game master, because this is game masterless, no game master necessary, and feels like you're playing a character in a role-playing game, at least a fairly light role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of cool stuff between the puzzling and the hacking of computers and the fighting that you would get to do, and you do get to level up, and that is awesome. So my person I'm going to recommend this to is the person who's always the game master, but instead wants to get their group together to play something like this and get to be a player character. I think that would be pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, your turn. Who would you recommend back this Kickstarter?
I would recommend it also to people who like tabletop miniature games, but maybe don't have 5 hours to play Warhammer or something like that.
Okay. I'm going to throw out there people who are really into legacy games. Now, I have been a little not big on legacy games, but I got to tell you, this one was really exciting me. I would play this. I would play through this campaign. I would get a group set up to do the Rogue Angels campaign. This is probably the first legacy game that's really got me like I want to play it. I imagine people who are into legacy games would also get a real kick out of this. This is definitely a legacy game, definitely an adventure game. Anyone else you would recommend this one to?
I guess maybe just people who like games with a lot of story elements in it. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of
There is a lot of story.
storylines, and
And they're going to be divergent, which is really cool.
I'm going to assume there's going to be some options that you need to choose to go, this way or that way,
Oh, yeah. And also, I'm going to throw this out there. Also, people who are just into old school RPGs. It really feels like there's a lot of like old school video game RPG elements to this, done as a board game. If you're into old school video game RPGs, I think you would really like this too. Mm-hmm. Did that about round it up?
Yeah.
All right. So if any of that applies to you, our recommendation is back this Kickstarter. This game seems really cool. I am excited to see what they do with this. I want to see what the final version looks like. I am really liking the art. The art is gorgeous. They sent us some like preview pictures of the art. I'm going to try to put some pictures up at the screen at different points here so you guys can see what it looks like. But it looks freaking awesome. I love the art. I love the aliens. I love the look of the different maps they sent us. There's some that are like decks of ships or space stations. But then we've also there's one over there I think that is like a wilderness.
Well, these are...
Oh, no, from the board.
Oh, yeah.
There was a board.
Yeah, but this is still some characters.
Yeah, and then here we go. There's one here that's like a wilderness. So yeah, they sent us there's going to be a bunch of different stuff. This is an alien world, obviously. But yeah, there's going to be... And how many different boards did they say?
It said minimum 70.
Yeah, so this is going to be crazy. There's going to be... And they're going to be in a book, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that whole... So you opened it up to the page, and then you just... It's the board. That is really cool.
So it's going to be a spiral, so like that giant book from Tales of the Arabian Nights.
Yeah, big spiral bound book. And they're going to have clickable bases to keep track of the hit points for the bad guys. Right now, we don't have that in the prototype version, but there's going to be bases that click, and you'll be able to see the hit points on the base. And that is really cool. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I really think the play style is really cool. The mini game of hacking doors and consoles is really awesome. The combat is smooth. I enjoy the damage cards, and I love the way the cards work for the actions. What do you think?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so there you go. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, either on this video or on the game of Rogue Angels Burning Suns, within reason, because we've only got a bit of the preview stuff. We don't fully know everything
Legacy
else.
of the Burning
Legacy of the Burning Suns,
it's very tiny, but it is there.
So, well, that's because I believe there was a previous game that Sun Tzu Games put out called Burning Suns that was kind of like an area control slash 4X game, and this is an adventure game in the same universe.
It says legacy of, so it's kind of hinting at the legacy.
That it is a legacy game.
Yeah.
It is a legacy game. So if you have any questions about it, within reason, stuff we can answer based on what we have here, we'll do our best. Feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this Kickstarter preview video, and you'd like to see us do more Kickstarter preview videos on interesting upcoming games like this, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on. Hi, Nico. Are we doing a puppy blooper? We getting some puppy bloopers in here? Puppy bloopers? Puppy bloopers? Oh, you were so soft. You were so soft and fuzzy. Oh, nope. Don't mess up the pieces or the table. Okay, you gotta go down. Go down on the floor. Nico, you are being incorrigible. Let us finish our video. You go down on the floor, baby.